The Patriots plus 400 to the Patriots, the favorite at minus 190. The Jaguars were the favorite on Monday, minus 150. That number moved to plus 300. Jeff Howe of The Athletic reporting that the Patriots have not shown an interest in the free agent quarterback and former NFL MVP. Who will start at quarterback for the Patriots in the upcoming season? Jarrett Stidham is the favorite, minus 220. Brian Hoyer plus 250. Cam Newton plus 500. Andy Dalton plus 1,300. Make a risk-free bet on VSiN with the VSiN Plus free subscription from now until 7 days after a major sport returns. Get Point Spread Weekly, VSiN's digital magazine. 24/7 live video stream of VSiN programs and replays and much, much more. For details on the VSiN Plus free subscription, go to vsin.com. With your action update, I'm Mike Senna.
Get the latest VSiN odds at vsin.com. And remember, cashing tickets is what it's all about.
It's time to follow the money with your hosts, Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard.
Hey, thanks for checking in. We are live in Vegas. Mitch and Paul. We'll talk to a longtime NFL reporter, one of the very best in the business, John Clayton, coming up in about 5 minutes. His post-draft analysis is in the Washington Post, and we will give you his winners, his losers. And I want to begin with a team that he called a loser. And I want to find out from him how their quarterback spot is going to play out this year in training camp and around week 1.
Yep. You know, I like how the game is played today. It was unfortunate how the Pistons were allowed to play and what they got away with back. But, you know, there was still some, magic against Bird was great. And then Jordan coming on the scene. How about this tweet? Look at the 1988 MVP voting. Jordan won. He averaged 35, 5, and 6. Larry Bird was second. He averaged 30, 9, and 6 on 50, 40, and 90. He was 50% from the – that's ridiculous. He was 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the line. Magic, 19, 6, and 12. Oh, my God. 3 of the top 5 to 7 players ever, all at the apex. NBA was never better. That was a good time, though. That was a great time for the league. But I do agree with many people. Sorry, Detroit. You were 4th in the pecking order. You won a couple championships, but let's be real. It was the Jordan Bulls, and then everyone want to put it, Bird, Magic, but you had the Celtics, the Lakers, and then the bad boys Pistons. That's just how it was. They were hated, but also they're way down the list.
Oh, of course they are. They did go, by the way, to back-to-back NBA finals. They were defeated by the Lakers the first time around before they won the next 2. And then, of course, that's when Michael got him in year number 4, and the Bulls won their first one in 1991. I mean, back then, unless you were really from that area, right, there's no way you were going to like the Pistons. No chance. I mean, again, I said this earlier, like I like physical basketball, but that's not basketball what they did. And by the way, some of the stuff they got away with now that we're watching it again with The Last Dance, how many times was Jordan just completely mugged? No call. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
They carried off one of the referees. There's video that came. He picked up Scottie Pippen, who was on the floor after he got an elbow to the face from Lambeer, dragged him over to the side baseline. He's like, okay, keep playing. Come on. Everything's going to be fine here.
Sure, yeah. It was like what Jeff said, the clothesline with Rambis and McHale. All right, two shots. Take your free throws. Let's go.
Yes.
That's what it was. It's ridiculous. He clotheslines them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, move along. Nothing to see. Okay, this is a good tweet as well. But I don't know what's going to happen when casinos open again and what they're going to do. Who wants to touch cards? Who wants to get next to people? Every other machine, maybe with the video poker. There's going to be hand sanitizer everywhere. Who knows? But this is making the rounds in this tweet from Las Vegas locally that these Rona guards that, according to the tweet, they are ordering this thing nonstop. That these things they're all, look at this now. If you can play the video where it's no video. Okay, just the tweet that that's the setup at the table, Mitch. What do you think of that?
Well,
Rona
okay.
guards.
Welcome into the program today. This is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We're live in Las Vegas. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard. John Clayton, longtime NFL reporter, is going to join us here coming up in a second. Yeah, we're showing right now video of these new guards they have up in place that they're going to, I guess, go out and test this eventually here in Las Vegas and beyond, obviously, with more than 400 casinos closed across the country. I would think this is a pretty good measure. How about you? I mean, anything. Again, think outside the box here. And something like this, if they're going to put this up at every blackjack table, every roulette table, here's the deal, though, right? You're still going to be touching cards, chips, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, and I know Richard Munchkin has tweeted about it, great advantage player and blackjack player. You're going to have customers walking in with masks on? What a nightmare that is for... What a nightmare that is for security if that happens. Plus, you might have dealers with them too. But imagine if customers are coming in wearing masks and all that other. Going to be a wild scene when things reopen.
Yep. Longtime NFL reporter John Clayton joins the program now. Great job breaking down the NFL draft for the Washington Post. John, thanks for the time today. We certainly appreciate that. I want to begin with a team that you called. You put it in the loser category, and that was the Chicago Bears after they drafted. And, this part of this was, as you wrote, because of the Khalil Mack trade. They didn't have like a million picks, but they took tight end in the second round. They're not going to have 10 tight ends in the roster coming up in September, but now they have 10 guys that actually play tight end. And by the way, how do you think this is going to play out with the quarterback spot in Chicago week 1? Foles or Trubisky to be the eventual starter?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Trubisky because there's just not going to be enough time, even though Foles knows the offense. He's been with enough of the offensive coaches. But if there's not going to be any preseason games, which I think is very likely, I don't think you can take too many new quarterbacks and put them right in. So I think Trubisky starts the season, and then kind of like we saw with, down in Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill, that eventually he comes back in at the moment that you think Mitch is not doing well. But I think any new quarterback on a team, particularly even the rookie quarterbacks, are going to have a hard time being ready for the first week of the regular season because no off-season program. You can talk about virtual off-season programs, but it's not the same. And then you don't know how long training camp's going to be, if it's going to start on time. So I think that you start the season with Mitch, and then at some point the move goes into Nick Foles.
Great answer. Terrific breakdown as well. How about I'm with you. I didn't like what the Raiders did. I didn't like back-to-back wide receivers, and I also didn't like the pick to take the kid out of Ohio State that early as well. What say you?
Yeah, 3 wide receivers. Again, this is a great draft. Maybe if they're trading one to the Green Bay Packers, it would be okay. But Packers, decided this wasn't a year for the wide receivers. But you can argue, at least I do. I don't know if Ruggs was the first choice or it should have been Judy. I guess they're in a division right now with Tyreek Hill, so I can accept that one. But then when you come back and you take 2 in the third round, it's just too much. It's like you go back last year, and I thought going into the off season, they had done the best job of anybody trying to assemble some wide receivers because they were aggressive. They go get Antonio Brown. It didn't work out, and they get Tyrell Williams. But then the problem is Tyrell proved he's not a number 1. He's more of a number 2, and they needed a number 1. And then they kept on trading and doing all these different things for wide receivers. And so now you go in with 2 extra wide receivers who are young in a team that needed help on defense. I just didn't get that part. That was just way too much. A good wide receiver draft, but not good enough to take 3.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't like what the
go ahead, Paul.
I'm sorry, we didn't like what the Packers did as well. But do you think the Packers should have called Rodgers and said, "Hey, we're going to take a quarterback here, give you a heads up"?
Yeah, 100%. Because even let's say, for example, they weren't able to make the trade or they weren't able to get Jordan Love. Do you want to have the secrecy that it's like, well, because eventually it's going to work, get out. Somebody's going to find out that they were trying to trade up to get Jordan Love, and you need to get the word to Aaron Rodgers. And by not calling him, I thought that was insulting. Because again, here's your quarterback, and he's a quarterback that's under contract for 4 more years, and he's the one that helped get you to the NFC Championship game. And I think out of respect for him, he has to be pulled in a loop. He was on radio earlier, about 2 hours before the draft, and he was talking about, I hope we get a skilled position player because, he wants to build back the receiving core. I mean, what you get a receiving core that other than Devontae Adams doesn't have anything, and also it cut Jimmy Graham. So now you go back and you don't tell him. I mean, you bring in Love and you don't help the receiving core. You skip the entire draft, which was one of the best receiving drafts forever. No, I think they owed him the call just to give him a heads up.
Can you believe that, John, by the way? He's been on the team since 2005, so it's now 15 drafts overall. They have not taken a running back or a wide receiver one time in the first round.
Yeah, and I throw to you, it's like if you go thinking about the draft, what are the two positions that you would not go into the draft thinking the Packers would take? One would be quarterback and one would be running back because they've got Aaron Jones. And so you just kind of shake your head and you say, what are you doing? Is this just being a little too cute? And, you look at a receiving core that, other than Adams, the most you got out of anybody was 37 catches.
Yep, spot on. Overall, what did you make of Matt Rule's first draft there in Carolina for the first time in, it was like decades, one team drafted all defensive players, but I kind of liked it.
No, I liked it a lot because they needed the help on defense. I mean, other than, say, Minnesota and a couple other teams, they've torn up that defense more than anybody else. And so they needed both good players and young players. And Derek Brown, they were able to get, the defensive tackle that they really like. Because remember, they lose Dontari Poe, they lose Gerald McCoy. Then in the second round to get, to get Utah Gross Matos, I thought that was a fine one too. Now he's young, he's pretty raw, but I think you look down the line, he's going to be a very good rusher, and I think that was needed because remember they are going back to a 4-3. They were able to get a cornerback, to replace James Bradbury. So no, I thought it was a very smart draft because you strategically try to figure out what are you going to do. Okay, on offense, they're going to get Teddy Bridgewater. That was good, and then now you come back in the draft and you get defense, and again, it's going to take some time because again, with no off-season program and everything, the young guys are going to need some time, but they've got some time. I don't think there's expectations that this is a playoff team. I really like their draft a lot.
I loved watching the draft, and it was my favorite draft so far. Talking to all the people that and you're well connected. Will the league look at taking some of the stuff, because the GMs loved it too, taking some of the things they did this past draft and maybe using it in the future drafts?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope what they do for the most, because it looks like obviously they're going to start going back to where the fans are, and I think that's good because it's great to watch the fans. But I think the one thing, and I know from doing 20 drafts for ESPN on radio and television, that one of the things that happens, and once you get into the second and third rounds, then it gets too bogged up. For example, if you still have guys there, particularly in the second round, because you sit there, and of course one of the mandates is you're not allowed to give the picks even though you know them until you get backed up 3, 4, 5 picks, and so all of a sudden you're sitting by the 45th pick, and they're already in the 49th pick, and you're still seeing people shaking hands and celebrating on the stage. I would have to think that you identify the 10 to 15 guys that you think are going to go in the top 20, and then you bring them to the draft, and then everybody else you do at home. I think that's the best way to do it because it keeps the flow of the draft going. Honestly, you get to see, the people, the family, the celebrations, all those different things. So I think that's probably the best way to do it.
It's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, talking to John Clayton, longtime NFL reporter. I also thought the Cowboys smashed the draft. Is this confirmed, by the way? Did Jerry really pull this off from a big $250 million yacht?
Yes, he did.
He did.
I don't know. I can't give you the price because I was not there for the purchase, but yeah, he did it from the yacht. And by the way, I was like, what'd you think of the couch? The couch was, almost bigger than a kayak.
It was bigger than my house.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they didn't need it. Like right at 17 here, they're picking. They'd probably never imagine in a million years that here you go, maybe the best receiver in the draft, CeeDee Lamb's going to fall to them. So it wasn't like a position of need, but best player available. And I thought it was a brilliant move by them.
Oh, no question, because it gives them so much flexibility. They were going to take Chase on as the pass rusher, and they still needed a cornerback. But what they were able to do, and of course they got lucky and get Diggs later on. But what I thought was great is that you get a guy who is a comparable to Des Bryant. And he's got great speed, great playmaking ability. The argument was he might have been the best receiver in the draft. I still think Jerry Jeudy was the best receiver in the draft. But to get him, below Denver, because you knew all three guys for the most part were going to be taken by the Denver pick at 15. But the fact that he slips down and they get him is fantastic. And you go up and down that draft. I mean, it's solid. I mean, they may have hit on a starting center in the 5th round. That was good. So no, I thought their draft was absolutely sensational, up and down all 7 rounds, or all 7 rounds. Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you. How about other news around the league? What are you hearing about a landing spot for Cam Newton or Dalton?
Right now, I think Dalton's going to be stuck in Cincinnati, which of course may not be bad, because again, it's a lot to ask for Joe Burrow to be able to start by the first week if you don't have any preseason games. And then, Cam Newton right now, destination unknown, because you can't give him a physical, and anybody even thinking about signing him has to have a physical. So I think pretty much he's on hold right now till July or the start of training camp. There's certainly maybe some interest with the New England Patriots, but I think it's safe to say that the way that they drafted and the way that they looked and the way that Bill Belichick's dog seemed to be looking at the screen, they weren't looking at a quarterback. So that I think was good. But right now, there's no destination for Cam Newton.
Better moment, Belichick's dog or Kingsbury's mansion?
Well, Kingsbury's mansion. I mean, that thing was sensational. Yeah. I mean, it's like some people were joking yesterday that watching that mansion helped them get undrafted free agents. That's not true, but the mansion was fantastic.
Yes, yes.
So
you're part of the best Sports Center commercial, in my opinion, ever. Are you a Slayer fan?
Of course I am.
Oh, I didn't know.
What I like is that they're football fans too. Oh. I mean, it's like the singer's a 49er fan, and the guitar player is a big fan of the Raiders, and so I think they were at least interested in the draft too. But no, you gotta love Slayer.
Okay, of course I am.
Give us the best grunge band, John, during the 90s.
The best. I'll defer to you. Which one do you like?
I go Soundgarden. They were my favorite. I know everybody's going to go Nirvana, but I go Soundgarden first.
Yeah, because I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, whatever it is, and I live here in Seattle, it's got to be a Seattle band.
Yes,
yeah,
no doubt.
Oh, for sure,
no doubt.
Yep. You can read John's NFL draft post analysis at the Washington Post and listen to him in Seattle at 7:10 Seattle from 10 to noon every single Monday through Friday. John, great stuff as always. Thanks so much for the time today. We appreciate that.
Okay, thanks.
There you go. Upset you, Paul.
Of course,
Slayer. Yeah, why not?
Of course you love Slayer. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's some heavy metal. That's some serious stuff coming at you there with the Slayer.
Do you ever go back and listen occasionally when maybe like an 80s hair band comes on or a rock band like that comes on? It's not good.
How about Rat with the comeback now with the Geico commercial? They got Rat in the Geico commercial now. Very good. Rat, and I remember Europe. Geico just goes back to those hair bands in the 80s.
I know.
When they need to throw somebody in there. Very good. Good answers. Good answers, especially on the Trubisky. Schefter had his report. Good. No, it's a good breakdown though from Clayton, and also making his case that Cam could be it doesn't look good for New England, and Cam could be without a spot. And there's the odds. FanDuel, Trubisky plus 117. Who'll be the Week 1 starter? So we'll see what the Bears do as they're up against it before May 4th. Well, if they're going to pick up that 5th-year option.
He's not the only one, right? Humans thinks it's going to be Trubisky, and we recently had, was it Charchian? Somebody else told us it's going to be Trubisky. It's not going to be Nick Foles as a starter. You imagine, though, I mean, that 5th-year option for that dude is going to be $24 million. Oh, and they traded up to number 2 to get him. Good luck with that.
And that and 10 tight ends. And 10 tight ends as well. Man.
Yep. Clayton, by the way, Clayton liked the Dolphins draft, the Vikings, and the Colts, and a couple of the other drafts he didn't like. Well, he didn't like the Saints. Only 4 picks again. They traded a bunch of that to get up Trout tight end from Dayton in the 3rd.
Yes, I was going to say that. I like the tight end out of Dayton. I think that's a nice weapon for Breeze, and that kid could have a big year. I like that. Don't forget, the acquisition of Sanders is huge. I know it's not the draft, but, the Saints already made some nice moves, and you steal Sanders from the 49ers. So that's a big move for the Saints, but not a lot of picks, but I do like what they did grabbing Troutman.
I agree. And by the way, you can still, even though you only have 4 picks, you can still have a pretty decent draft. And that Zach Bond, again, there was a 1st-round prop on him
Right.
Actually, had a bunch of books, and his draft position was low 30s. It was like 31.5, 32.5. So whether or not he was going to go in the first round, he slides all the way to 74. They get him there. He's a good player.
He opened in the mid-20s. He's another one. Josh Jones, in mid-20s, goes in the 70s. You saw Fromm was in, I think Fromm was in the 50s where he went. It's not Fromm, Eason. Bond, you're right. Mims was in the late 20s, early 30s, and he went 59th. There was a lot of guys like that. The Patriots kid opened 83, went down to 68. He goes early in the second round. So that, as Nick said yesterday, there's a reason why William Hill got beat up with the props, and there was a lot of big moves like that, the 9-10 draft position moves, even Higgins, 10, 25, 24 and a half up to 34, 33, and he goes first pick of the second round. Winfield, big move on the under.
Yep.
And they came 45th, 52 down to 42. He went 45th. A lot of those happened.
Paul, I just got a tweet. We're going to have to maybe throw this up tomorrow on the show at some point. This is from Nick. He tagged me on a tweet from a look inside Jerry Jones' $250 million, 357-foot yacht, where he is currently drafting from. And it has 3 photos, but there's a link. I'm going to retweet this right now at Mitch Moss Radio. Oh,
Did you also notice different women were holding the phone for him? It was their job to hold up the phone to talk.
Oh,
Jerry didn't want to touch the phone.
Did he have somebody cleaning the glasses for him?
Yeah, I remember that. Remember that game? Over the shoulder. Here you go.
Come on, I can't clean my glasses. You know what to do.
No.
Take care of these for me, would you please? It's Follow the Money here on V Sports Betting Network. Win some, lose some on deck.